It's 2025, dear listener.
Do resolutions make you feel bad about yourself almost immediately?
What if there's another way to nurture that New Year's baby within?
We're two childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener, New Year's edition.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo! Happy New
Happy
Year!
New Year. It's 2025. All Lang Syne. I have no idea really what that is, but I sing it.
All the time. Well,
Yeah.
not all the time, once a year. I sing it every day. Hey, I just looked it up, and Auld Lang Syne means time long past. So, see, you can learn something from this podcast, dear
Uh,
listener.
okay, so Happy New Year. Are you a resolutions person?
Are you
Like,
asking me?
I mean, it went from everybody to just you.
I guess I'm the only one here.
Carrie, are you a resolution person?
I am. I love a good resolution. But the thing about them is, and this is not just resolutions, this is like everything. You get really excited about the idea.
Mhm.
And then I do it for about, depending on how excited I am. If I'm really excited, it's like a week and a half. If I'm like
Mhm.
moderately excited, it's like 2 days.
Mhm.
And then I sort of fall off, and then I spend the rest of the year self-flagellating for being a big fat failure.
Mm. See, I think that's okay. So I've seen a lot of people be like hate on
Mhm.
resolutions. I think that's why, because most of us are not very kind to ourselves. And so, like, having some kind of resolve for an entire year
It's a
that
lot.
you immediately don't do is just like, so the whole year I have to be mad at myself for the things I didn't
Right.
do or am not continuing to do. Um, I am not typically a resolutions kind of person.
Really?
Um, I, I this year though, right before the new year, I sat down, my husband and I sat down for the first time and looked over our calendars from 2024 and saw what we did.
That's cool.
And it actually felt really good because I think a lot of the time with human beings not giving themselves credit and feeling like they do nothing most of the time, I don't know. I think that's human.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to look back through. So we looked back through our calendars and and then like wrote down per month like what stuff we had done, and then we looked back through all our photos from the year and just like, because some of the stuff isn't on there, but oh yeah, we went to this thing or we saw this or we like tried a new thing and took a picture or video of it. I thought that was cool, and I want to more fully. I've written a little bit of it, but like set some intentions.
Mhm.
And so I think for me that feels good that there's like a central focus for the year. So like
Mhm.
last year the words that were in my mind that were like an intention were make space. This is going to
Mhm.
sound really woo woo, but it felt like the universe was telling me to like make room, make space. And so I embraced saying no
Mm.
more. I embraced quitting things I didn't want to do, um, and made room. And it just so happens that in the last few months of the year, a lot more came to me that felt more authentic to who I am and where I'm going. So
Mhm.
I think like setting the intention this year for me is be like okay with being miserable, meaning,
Yay!
yeah, I know short term gratification
Mm.
is not gonna be a thing this year as much. So like I can feel it because I'm writing my show and I'm doing all this, and it's like you're not gonna get the dopamine hits you have been getting and get the results. Like you have
Yeah.
to write this whole thing and rewrite this thing. And I think that my whole life is going to be that this year. It's going to
Mhm.
be not a instant gratification kind of year.
Mhm.
And there's something
Ooh,
exciting about that, but also scary.
totally. I think that there's real merit to expecting the suckage.
Mhm.
You know, like I do this in my life coaching sessions with my clients for whatever it is. You feel resistance. You're going I think we sometimes go into the year. I know I certainly do with my resolutions and I'm like, I'm going to love it the whole time. I'm going to feel a certain way that's like transcendent and sparkly and diamond studded every single time I do this thing. And the truth is that I quit once I start feeling the resistance.
Mhm.
And what I try and do with my clients is be like, okay, no, expect the resistance. Expect it because once that dopamine hit wears off, you're gonna feel the grind. You're gonna grind up against resistance instead of being like, oh, shoot, I don't like this feeling. Abort mission. Why am I feeling this way? Oh, I'm feeling this way because I probably shouldn't. I just shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have agreed to it in the first place. Instead,
Mm.
be like, oh, hello, old friend. I
Mhm.
recognize you and I have expected you.
Mm.
And so come into the parlor of my heart and have a little sit down and let's work together.
Mm.
I'm still gonna do the thing, even though I'm grinding up on you,
Mm.
resistance,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know?
There's this song, it's like an old classic tune, but I particularly love Etta James's version, and it's called Good Morning Heartache.
Oh,
Um, and the plot of the song is basically like, well, the lyric. I'm gonna say some of the lyrics because I just love it.
yeah, do.
It's like, "Good morning, heartache, you old gloomy sight. Good morning, heartache. Thought we said goodbye last night. I tossed and turned until it seemed you had gone, but here you are with the dawn." And so it's this. She's just talking to like, I wish I could get rid of you, and then by the end, she's like, "Come on in and sit down. Like,
Mm,
let's hang out." And the premise of that is sad, but I also really like the, all right, you're here. Like, okay, you're gonna push against me. Come on in. Let's hang out. Like, I'm accepting this instead of being like, well, this is it. This is the sign. I suck. I'm not gonna do the thing, you know?
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but it's so hard to remember and it's not fun.
It's not fun because we do want it to feel great. I mean, we our bodies, the animal of our bodies wants to feel good. It does, and I
Mhm.
don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
It's good to feel good. However, when we're learning new things, especially, sometimes that doesn't always feel good and it's scary. And anything that's scary, like our bodies don't want to feel fear.
Mhm.
So we'll avoid feeling discomfort at all costs.
Mhm.
Until I think we as humans have the ability to be like, even though I feel this way, I can make other choices, which is kind of like the wonderful thing about being a human being.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're set up more than ever in the history of humanity to be addicted to short-term results. Um,
Totally.
like, it feels a lot better to post something and watch and see if anyone likes it, or like go on and watch a bunch of other people doing things. It like ignites our dopamine. It like, we could order something and have it delivered to our door. We don't have to like go do anything. There are so many things that in our world can hit immediately. It's so much easier
Mhm.
to just open up our phone or whatever and get that hit. I
Mhm.
have a goal to be this year that I would learn to love the process
Mm.
more, and
Mhm.
it's definitely excuse me, I will have to learn to love it. And
Mhm.
so, for me, like, I was writing in my morning pages and I was like, I want to find magic in every day. Like, maybe this sounds like a crazy thing, but like creating some little world for myself where like I could envision whatever I'm doing as like something magical and dive into it with some type of like wonder and excitement. And instead of it being like, you got to get through this so that you can have magic later. Like, no,
Mhm.
what if there could be magical moments in every step of this, but I have to like deprive myself of the dopamine hits that make me feel like this isn't magic. Uh,
Oh,
it's
yes.
like it's scary, and I think I'm gonna suck at it. I'm really like I'm looking forward to trying.
Emily, I think what you're talking about is delight,
Mm,
because delight is kind of this process by which A, you notice, and B, you transform the everyday into something like you see the sparkle behind the everyday.
mm,
I mean, it's like the ultimate mental reframe of kind of like your everyday situation into something that is truly transcendent. But we have the ability to do that in our minds. And from delight springs joy.
mm.
Yes. And copy and paste. That's what I want too. Can I just steal all of your resolutions?
Yeah, let's do it. Their
Yeah.
intentions,
Yes.
because I
Intentions.
cannot. Here's what I've determined.
Hmm.
I have no resolve. Like I really don't. But I can intend,
Hmm.
and then every moment that I fuck up that intention, I can go back to what I am intending.
Right.
Rather than I resolve to do this big fucking thing and immediately don't have the resolve and
Right.
then stop doing it.
Right. Absolutely.
Instead, I can intend every day to do a little more of something. And if there are a few days in a row that I didn't do what I intended, I can go back the next day and
Yes.
my intentions can be fulfilled and I can feel pride in that, you know.
Right.
Um cuz yeah, I just don't think I don't think I have the self-control for a resolve. A
Yeah.
resolve
I
for
get
a
that.
resolution.
I think we also, especially for kind of these high achiever types, like you and I, and possibly our listeners as well, setting unrealistic expectations is a real doozy.
Mhm.
Like, I set expectations for myself that there's no way that I can hit those goals. And then I berate myself when I'm a human after all, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Eh,
it's that coupled with all or nothing thinking. Like I was reading this book called How to Keep House While Drowning, I think. I'll put it in
Oh,
the show notes. And it's
nice.
so good. But she was talking about, so she bought this exercise bike and she was like, my goal is to do 5 minutes a day. So she did it for, I think, maybe 2 days and then she stopped doing it. She was like, obviously, this means that 5 minutes is too big of a goal. 3 minutes a day. I can do 3 minutes a day. And you just have to figure out, like, chunk something down until it starts to feel manageable. But
Mhm.
in my brain, I go, 3 minutes? Why do you even bother?
Mhm.
The issue with that is by the end of the year, you will have 365 times 3 minutes of
Mhm.
doing the bike.
Mhm.
That is way better than 0, but somewhere in my brain, it's like, "Oh, if it can't be 30 minutes a day, might as well be 0," which is
Mm.
not true.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, there's a Corey and I like habitually at times listen to the book Atomic Habits,
Mhm.
and one of the things he talks about is like you don't have to make working out a goal. You could like make putting your shoes on
Mm.
a goal. Like I'm going to put on exercise clothes with the intention that at a point I will go for a walk or a run. If the run feels like too much, maybe you could think about you going for a walk. If going for a walk is too much, just put your shoes on. And then
Mhm.
every day you're going to put those shoes on and eventually you're going to be like, I guess I could like walk,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
So chunking it down, like you said, to something that feels realistic. And I need to hear that because, like, I've set, and I did this on purpose. I set like some goals for writing before the new year to see what it would feel like to try to carve that time out. And I set too big of a goal. Write for 3 hours,
Mm.
too much. And then I'm like, well, I don't feel like doing that. I'm scared of what I could suck at. So I just filled it, I did it a little and then I filled that time with other things. Um, so I still have the time blocked off for this year, but I need to be like, you just need to sit down for 10 minutes and write anything.
Right. Totally. I hate the phrase "get over," but I don't have a better one, like, get over the fact that it doesn't have to be so extreme.
Mhm.
All or nothing. 3 hours or nothing, 30 minutes on the bike or nothing.
Mhm.
It's so, ugh.
Yeah.
But still, when you just said 10 minutes, in my brain, I go, "Oh, well, that's not enough." And then I'm like, "What?" Because
Mm.
logically, I do think there's nothing wrong with that, but, like, this constant driving need to be the best, to be
Mhm.
successful, to all of these things that I do think comes back to fundamentalism, at least in part. It hurts, and it really prevents me from doing things that I wanna do.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been having a lot of conversations with students
Mhm,
and potential students and whatever about like, well, I really want to sing or I really want to whatever. And I'm like, well, why aren't you? And people are
mhm,
like, well, I feel like I need to do XYZ before I can do da da da. And I'm like, okay, but you don't. Like, what would happen if you just did the thing?
mhm.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Well, there are no good answers to that question. Like,
Yep.
well, why don't we just try this thing? Well, I can't do that. Why?
Mhm,
You know, um, one thing that I do value about myself is I always joke that I'm like too stupid to quit because I'm like, oh, I have an idea. Um, can I do this? And people are like, yep. And I'm like, really? So I could just like walk in and do this if I want to? And they're like, yep. And then I'm like, why isn't anyone else doing this?
mhm.
Because no one's just doing the shit that they wanna do. Like, come on, guys. Go to karaoke. Go, like, ask if you could put up a painting at a coffee shop. Go do it. People don't ask. And
Right.
or they're like, "Okay, well, I have to get ready to do that." And then we
Mhm.
run into the resolution problem, and they're like, "Well, in order to get ready, then I have to practice an hour a day." Like, who said,
Right.
"Just go do it"?
Yes. I have a friend, she is such a prolific sewer. She's constantly making and crafting things. And I was talking to her and I was like, but, and I had my schedule out and I was, in my calendar and all these things and like, oh, if I did it. And she goes, Carrie, you think too much. And I was like, and then I was like, oh, no, that's right. Oh. And I think that to your point, we think ourselves out. Like, I think we have, at least I feel, and I think you do too, these like bursts of like, "Ooh, that's a cool idea. Wow." You
Mhm.
know? "Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna do that." And then it's like there's this thing, it's like some curmudgeonly, boring, crusty old adult person in my brain is like, "Well, actually, you
Mhm.
can't because you have to do all this and you have to get this education first and you have to blah, blah, blah. And why aren't you ready? And you didn't pay for that and blah, blah, blah. You need to get all this equipment before you do it." And it's like, it just takes that childlike dream of excitement and just freaking sits on it.
Mhm.
And then the dream just goes and just
Mhm.
deflates out the side. And
Yep.
then you're left with this like squashed excitement that somebody is like, oh, like adulted all over.
Mhm.
Like, what if we can just be like, hey, adult sensibilities. Thanks, but like, here, sit on this couch, not on this dream. What if we just went with the excitement and the dream and we didn't talk ourselves out of it?
Mhm.
We're thinking too much.
It's true, and then there's this, like, "Well, I don't wanna be embarrassed and I don't wanna suck." And it's like, well, what if it's okay if you suck? Like,
Yeah.
I think the internet, social media has really changed the stakes of doing normal
Yes.
shit and
Yes.
ruining it. Um, because we look at people doing things that are brave, or we look at people doing normal things, and then maybe that's perceived as like embarrassing. And then we look at all the comments and we build a case against that person who tried.
Mhm.
And then therefore we build a case against ourselves based on the comments that could happen to us. Um, should people stop? Should that, like, if you actually, like, okay, Lizzo, for instance, I know that there's like another controversy there, or like famous people that have so many comments. Oh my god, this is the new thing that I've seen on Instagram a lot, like reels where they say Taylor Swift can't sing, or Olivia Rodrigo can't sing, or like Lizzo can't sing, or whatever. Should they stop?
Absolutely not.
No, fuck that group of people. It could be hundreds of people.
Yep.
Fuck those people, because
Mhm.
those people are just pissed that they're not doing it. So, like,
Mhm.
it's so hard for us. I think we battle an enemy in the comments against ourselves
Mhm.
making something. What if I say, like, make this thing that I'm afraid I suck at, and then these people say I suck at it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Should you stop? I think it's really difficult. So we can build a whole case. I do
Mhm.
it all the time.
Yep.
But then, like I said, I think I'm too dumb to stop. But I build a case against myself about lots of stuff that I could just do.
Mm.
Like, and how sad, because the things you long for, the things that are in your heart to do that you could delight in on
Mhm.
a daily basis, you're talking that part of you out of delight and joy. Like,
Mhm.
there, okay, I had this person that I hang out with who I love very much. We, like, saw, an open mic thing together, and there were featured performers at the open mic, and they were not great, by, like, standards of prepared performance and pitch and whatever. And the person that I was with was like, "These people shouldn't be here if they can't be prepared and they're not
Mm.
whatever." And that person is not doing anything right now.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I was like, "But, like, if more people actually showed up and tried, there would be more prepared people doing things." But there are so many people that are, like, sitting there looking at another person and deciding that their judgment is correct because they're judging themselves with that judgment. Like,
Absolutely.
just go fuck up some songs. No one cares
Right?
except for this person who's not doing anything. Now, look, the person not doing anything, I also wasn't. And yeah, it's terrifying. Like, I'm not being mean to that person either, but I'm saying, like, then get up and fucking do it. Let's go. Go do it.
Yep.
Sometimes, and we've talked about this a lot, and I'm on a little jag right now, but sometimes you're afraid that you will be judged the way that you are judging someone else. All
Yep.
this shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm judging you. Shouldn't you be allowed to do what you love? Yeah, you should. And it shouldn't matter if I think it sucks.
Oh, Emily, yes. Preach all of that. Yes.
It's hard. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be tone deaf and be like, duh, just do it. Like, but kind of why not
There is kind of
though?
an element that's like, get out of your prefrontal cortex about this and get into the feelings of delight and wonder and curiosity.
Mhm.
Like, sink down into those older parts of your brain and do the thing and kinda, like, Almost in a way, like, kinda switch off part of your brain. Like,
Mhm.
for lack of a better phrase, like, maybe get a little dumber. I
Yeah.
think I've said this before on the podcast, and it never feels right when I say it, but I don't know how else to say it, like, less thinking, more action.
Mhm. I okay, a couple days ago, it freaked me out when I was thinking about this that I was like, "What if I imagine that, like, everything I'm writing is a movie, like a special weird place?" I don't know if you've seen American Fiction,
Mm-mm.
but he's essentially writing the book and he can see everything happening, it starts just being, like, his life as he's writing it, and I'm like,
Whoa.
"What if I get really weird and I'm like a little kid again where I'm like, oh, and then I made this story and all my little friends are here and I like get into this. What if I actually completely turn into like a crazy person who's like, this is real and I'm playing like we used to play with I mean, I didn't play with dolls, but and imagine a whole world and it's like to
Mhm.
what end? Delight?
Mhm.
Except like with our creativity. So that's it. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
I might go crazy.
You know what, though? I get the fear, but I don't think you will. Really
It
don't.
sounds way more fun.
I mean, it kinda does, right? Like, what if we got a little weird? Like,
Mhm.
I feel like I can afford to get a little weirder.
I think I can
Maybe
too.
maybe other people don't think so, but it's not
I
about them.
I think you can. And I
Yeah.
just don't think that logical people who are overthinking everything will let themselves get like real weird. And also
Mhm.
artists are weird. Let's fucking
They
go.
are.
Speaking of, I bought I hope my mother isn't listening to this podcast. I kind of always hope she's not listening. Uh I bought tarot cards
Tell me about
and I
that.
bought a little book, like a guidebook,
Uh-huh.
and it's like what does it say? It might not be this because it makes me think of the song. It's like every little thing you do is magic. And it's
Uh-huh.
like a guide to like beginning tarot reading. And I was preparing for a show that I was really scared to do. And I bought them like the day before and was just like, did a reading for myself. And I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. But I will tell you a hilarious thing. The first card I pulled ever in my life was death. So that's great.
Yay.
Thanks so much. But it was like a death to naysaying yourself. So it was okay.
Right.
But oh my
Right.
god, I'm gonna get weird. I think I'm gonna get weird.
Emily, if you need permission, which you don't, but if you do, you have my permission to get weird.
Thank you.
Okay? Like, we need a little bit of that. Maybe a
I just
little bit more.
I think there's so much fun to be had in like I think our religious upbringing makes us feel like if we get into something, then we have to be all into it, and then we're like devout, and we're like whatever. What if it's just a little
Mhm.
weird? And what if I just like pretending? What if I just
Yeah.
like pulling tarot cards and being like, ooh, like it doesn't mean that now I'm some kind of cult leading satanic ritual person. I just want to be like, oh, look, you should focus your energy on this today. And I'm like, that's nice.
But that's that all or nothing thinking. Either you're in 100% or you're out all
Mm-hmm.
the way.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves no room for subtlety or nuance or like building any kind of y- reality or universe that gives you delight. Like it's so just harsh
Mm-hmm.
and like
Mm-hmm.
full of lines, and we don't I don't want that anymore. I don't want the harsh lines.
Mm-hmm.
I want there to be shades. I think that's what I've always wanted is like shades of color and and tones and all of
Mm.
this subtlety. in there. And
Mhm.
I think that's what you're talking about is like, let me have subtlety where I want it.
Mhm. Yep. And let's play like, playing is subtlety. I also think, and so I'm not shitting on resolutions, but I do think that is my resistance to resolve also, is that
Mm,
it feels like then you have to fully identify with this.
totally. Yes.
And it's like, no, you don't. You
Mhm.
could be a little of that. You could be like, I intend to do this. And then I didn't do that today, but I could try tomorrow. Not like I've resolved now to lose 10 pounds in 3 minutes.
Right.
And if I don't do it, then I'm a failure. I mean, let's face it, that's sometimes what our brains
Yeah,
do. Like,
absolutely.
I'm gonna go to the gym every day for an hour. No, you're fucking not. It's fine.
Right.
Like, why don't you just try going more often and not shaming yourself?
Right. Yeah.
Go do karaoke. Go buy a tarot card set. I don't know. Do whatever
Yeah.
the fuck you want,
That's right.
2025.
That's right. Emily, I love that. And I fully support you and stand with you on all of that. And like I said, I just want to cut and paste your intentions for myself. Can I do that without
Yeah.
being completely a copy face?
Uh, you can do whatever the fuck you want, 2025, remember?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not like, she's copying me because she wants to like be nicer to herself and try to enjoy her life. Okay, yeah, copy me. I hope that. I want that for you.
So, kind of what you're saying is your intentions are you want to stick with the discomfort and press into it and learning to love the process instead of the end goal.
Yeah, making the magic be all of it,
Ooh, yeah. The
you know?
magic. Mhm.
I've been obsessed with the idea of magic for
Mhm.
almost the entire year and a kind of my whole life, but like I'm letting myself be really obsessed with magic and I think I'm just leaning harder into it. I want the magic to be all of it, not just
Mhm.
the popping out of the hat, but the setting up the hat and the hand gestures and the like planning and the building the show for people to see the magic and like it's not just the rabbit.
Right. I think I still need to think about my intentions other than the ones that I'm going to blatantly steal from you. That is. I think for me too, key to all of this is going to be self trust and self compassion. Self trust that if I get a little weird, it's okay. And I'm letting my insides direct where I'm going. And I'm trusting that my insides are not going to take me in a direction that's going to be harmful. And that
Mhm.
takes a lot of self trust. I'm constantly cultivating more self trust in
Same.
therapy.
Same. Mhm.
Self-trust and then self-compassion that when I don't do something perfectly, instead of just being super mean to myself and being like, "See, this is why you just can't make resolutions." Being like, "Well, actually, let's just chunk it down. What if we chunked
Mhm.
it?"
What if we're on our side and we're
Imagine that.
like, if you were seeing someone struggling with something, you'd be like, "Oh, hey, let's figure out a way to make that easier." You wouldn't be like, "You can't do that, you piece of shit." Like, let's just have even a teensy bit of the compassion that we have for other people for ourselves.
Absolutely. That's a lot of work,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's so simple, just do it.
yeah, what, like, it's hard?
Yeah, just do it. Just
Yeah.
trust yourself.
So, dear listener, we just hope the best for you in 2025. Follow the joy and the delight of your heart.
Be gentle
Mhm.
and compassionate as much as you can. I really like the idea of treating that person like inside us, like a separate, sweet kid who just needs encouragement. And could
Mhm.
we follow her or him or them around and be
Mhm.
like, hey, I protect this baby.
Yep. Parenting our own selves.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. This year's gonna be great, and it's gonna be dumb, and it's gonna
Mhm.
be boring, and it's gonna be meaningless, and it's gonna be funny and, like, fortuitous and all of those
Ooh,
things.
yeah. Yeah. Let it be whatever it's gonna be, all of it.
Yeah. I resolve.
That's right, I intend. Happy 2025, dear listener.
Honestly, dear listener.